AOC had a sad story about AOC, a very sad story about AOC, despite the fact that AOC is the youngest elected member of Congress, despite the fact that AOC is completely unqualified for her position on any intellectual or governmental level, despite the fact that AOC earns close to $180,000 a year and lives in a luxury apartment in Washington, D.C., she's a victim, don't you know? And she's a victim because she has student loan debt. Ooh, just like a lot of people, she has student loan debt. And this means that she has been victimized by the system. The system's bad. How do we know the system is bad? Listen to her case for why the system is bad. And let's see if you can spot the logical flaw in what she's saying.
I will be completely honest. I will disclose my personal stake in this fight because I have student loans too. And I think it's so funny. A year ago, I was waiting tables in a restaurant, and it was literally easier for me to become the youngest woman in American history elected to Congress than it is to pay off my student loan debt.
Okay, she is so unbelievably whiny. I'm sorry, stop bitching for a second. I mean, stop complaining. Like, that's so unbelievably whiny. I have student loans at poor little me, and therefore bail me out. I mean, talk about a privileged mentality. I voluntarily took out student loan debt, and then I used my college degree to brag about how smart I am because I have a degree in international relations where apparently I learned things like Jeremy Corbyn is wonderful and we have concentration camps on the border. And also I have a minor in economics where I learned things like capitalism is very bad and also it's some sort of oppression to grow certain types of vegetables in Brooklyn or something. And then she stands around talking, oh, poor little AOC. Oh, the heart weeps. Oh, we all have to. Okay, so if her contention is that it was easier for her to get elected to Congress than to pay off her student loan debt, this is an excellent case for her not being in Congress. It's an excellent case. And I will tell you why. If you are unable to pay off your student loan debt, I have a proposal. If you are unable or unwilling to pay off your student loan debt, you should not be a representative in the public sphere. Number one, you got skin in the game and you're bailing yourself out. So if you're bailing yourself out, that's not great. That's not a great thing. Because here we're not talking about you keeping more of your own money. We're talking about you being forgiven debt that you voluntarily took out. She's basically Michael Scott in The Office, running out in public shouting, I declare bankruptcy. It's ridiculous. Like, if you can't pay for your student loan debt, don't take it out. And also, your voters should know that, like, really, if it was easier for you to be elected to Congress than to pay off your student loan debt, that doesn't say a lot about you. Maybe you should have worked on paying off your student loan debt like a responsible human being. By the way, how much of that $175,000 to be in Congress, which is basically a part-time job, doesn't sound bad to me. Seems like you could pay your student loan debt off right now instead of asking me to pay off your student loan debt, lady. Really ridiculous. Okay, and then finally we have Ilhan Omar. So Ilhan Omar, who may or may not have once married her brother, this is still under dispute according to the Minneapolis Star-Tribune. She says that, don't worry guys, don't worry. Student loan debt, this isn't to give away to the rich. We need to do it right now. It's not a giveaway to the rich to give a bunch of people who graduated college and voluntarily took out debt forgiveness for their loans, as opposed to, low-income people who have to take out loans from payday lenders and stuff. No, we should definitely make sure that people who graduated from Harvard with $200,000 in debt, that their loans must be paid off. That's not a giveaway to the rich, says Ilhan Omar.
What my bill does is simple as it is revolutionary, as Senator Sanders says. It cancels all of 1.6 trillion student loan debt. No exceptions, no questions asked, full cancellation. You might ask, why full cancellation? What about the people who can pay off their student debt? Well, let me say this. The children of Donald Trump aren't asking or taking out student loans. Canceling student debt is a problem of the poor and the middle class, not of the rich.
Okay, that's absolute, utter horsepucky. It's absolute nonsense. You know the reason it's absolute nonsense? Because many rich people do take out student loan debt, specifically because they want their kids to have to pay off the debt. Okay, also, many people take out student loan debt because the student loans are actually really low interest rates. It doesn't make a lot of sense to pay cash out of pocket now when you could incur a low interest rate over time. Also, the idea is that you have increased your earning potential by going to college. So the question isn't, were you rich when you went into college and took out the loan debt? The question is, are you richer coming out? Because that was the whole bargain, wasn't it? Is that you were going to have a higher earning potential, and therefore you can pay off the debt. None of this makes any sense, but that's okay. It doesn't have to make sense. It's free stuff for everybody. Yay, Democrats. Don't you feel more free? I feel more free knowing that there are a bunch of Democrats who are going to come to my house with a gun if I don't pay taxes to pay for AOC's student loan debt. Makes me feel more free, I can tell you that. It is amazing to watch how the Democrats really have, many of them, have no standards at all with regard to what is appropriate behavior. It really is an amazing thing. So obviously you had Joe Biden and his team at the White House overtly saying that it was totally fine to go to Supreme Court justice's house and protest like right outside their house, even though it was a violation of federal law. It was totally okay. And you had Karine Jean-Pierre, the wildly untalented White House press secretary, saying openly that, going outside restaurants and yelling at people while they're eating their dinner, that's just free speech. And Pete Buttigieg, the Secretary of Transportation, mostly famous for going on a 2-month paternity leave while nobody noticed, he said the exact same thing. And we've been told by pretty much all of the bright Democratic thinkers that protest is just protest and you should all toughen up. You should all just get thicker skin. Well, all right. But if we're going to hold you to that standard, we're going to hold you to that standard. So here's the thing. Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, the irrepressibly moronic congresswoman from Brooklyn, she tweeted December 2nd, 2020, quote, "The whole point of protesting is to make people uncomfortable. Activists take that discomfort with the status quo and advocate for concrete policy changes. Popular support often starts small and grows. To folks who complain protest demands make others uncomfortable, that's the point. Protest, it's great. It makes people uncomfortable." Okay, just about a week ago, Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, who again has fewer brain cells to rub together than most sea creatures, she tweeted out after there were a bunch of people who basically protested outside of Brett Kavanaugh's steakhouse dinner with his family, and he had to leave through the back door. She tweeted out, quote, "Poor guy. He left before his souffle because he decided half the country should risk death if they have an ectopic pregnancy within the wrong state lines. It's all very unfair to him. The least they could do is let him eat cake." Right? So, why should he be offended that people are ruining his dinner? After all, you don't have a right to eat dinner. And after all, he wants to make people go through with ectopic pregnancy. By the way, it's just a lie. Okay, that there is not a state in America where it is illegal to remove an ectopic pregnancy. It does not exist. It is a threat to the life of the mother. Okay, but put all of the abortion policy there aside. The bottom line to AOC is protest is good when I do it, but it's very bad when people do it to me. When people troll me, it is legitimately the end of the world, and I am so scared I'm going to freak out. And we're not just talking about January 6th, when there's video of AOC talking about how she was in tremendous fear for her life and she was afraid she was going to die. And I was in Katie Porter's office and they asked Katie Porter about it. And Katie Porter's like, yeah, we were in the other office building. It was fine. And I had to give, one of my staffers had to give AOC her shoes, right? Put all of that aside. I'm not talking about January 6th. There was actual danger involved, although not in the Longwell office building where AOC was, but there was in the Capitol complex. Now AOC is suggesting that she was deeply threatened, that it was really, really scary when a troll decided to talk about her booty to her on the steps of the Capitol building. Now, that's ugly behavior. That's bad behavior. That's harassment. It's bad. And I can say that because I think it's bad across the board. I think it's bad when you protest at steakhouses and go outside Supreme Court justices' houses. I think it's bad when you try to track down Supreme Court justices, after somebody tries to murder them in their house. I think there are a lot of things that are bad in this realm. But if you are AOC and you think protest is good, except when somebody says a mean thing to you and you get the feels, well, then I have less sympathy for you. One rule for all of it. I'm perfectly on AOC's side when she says she is offended by this trollery. Fair enough. But you can't be offended by this trollery and then be like, yeah, but if they do it to people I don't like, then it's totally fine. So here's what happened. AOC, the so fresh, so face, freshness of face that just could not be outfreshed in its faceness. AOC was walking up the Capitol steps when a professional troll named Alex Stein decided to talk to her about her booty. Here's what it sounded like.
AOC, my favorite big booty Latina. I love you, AOC. You're my favorite. She wants to kill babies, but she's still beautiful. You look very beautiful in that dress. You look very sexy. Look at that booty on AOC. That's my favorite big booty Latina.
I want to do a little selfie.
I love it. My favorite AOC. Nice to meet you, AOC. Look how sexy she looks in that dress. Woo, I love it, AOC. Hot, hot, hot like a tamale.
Okay, so, not something I'd want anybody saying to my wife. Not something that I think is appropriate for public discourse. Actual catcalling. I know that AOC can't tell the difference. I one time offered to debate AOC, and she literally accused me of catcalling on Twitter. That right there is catcalling. Okay, if you want a definition of that's the one. I know AOC doesn't understand what words mean and that words have meanings. That's the catcalling, AOC. So, but according to AOC, you have to follow the logic because she's so incredibly dumb. According to the logic, here's AOC's logic. If I offer to debate AOC, that's catcalling. If this guy catcalls her, that's a violent threat. And if somebody is outside a Supreme Court justice's house shouting at them a week after somebody tries to murder them, that's not a violent threat. That's legitimate protest. You follow this circle of logic? And so Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez then decided that the fundamental problem here is the Capitol Police, that the Capitol Police did not protect her from a man shouting about her big booty. Here is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on Instagram, really going for it.
I think the thing that was so crazy about that incident is not even that it happened, but that it happened on the Capitol steps right in front of a Capitol Police officer. And this dude was engaged, like this wasn't about a political opinion or protest or anything like that. He was engaged in very clearly sexually threatening, aggressive behavior right in front, on the Capitol steps in front of an officer. And he wasn't even asked to take a step back. Like, this officer was just cool with it. And it just, like, I really just can't help but think about all of that footage and evidence that we saw the day of all these Capitol Police officers helping and being sympathetic to the insurrectionists on January 6th. And everyone just decided it was too politically difficult to deal with. So they all just brushed it under the rug. And to this day, there has never been an investigation into that. Never. So as a result, we have no idea which officers are safe to be around. We have no idea if any of those officers and the ones holding massive weapons were with that crowd or if they weren't.
Now, so just to get this straight, she's now saying the Capitol Police are bad guys on January 6th because a man catcalled her. By the way, if you watch the tape, she actually comes back down the steps to approach him and say something, then she goes back up the steps. Right? This does not excuse the lewd, lascivious stupidity of this troll who is a troll. But I'm unaware of the evidence from the video that he was physically threatening to her. There's a difference between being lewd and gross and violative and being physically threatening. I mean, those differences do exist. So what exactly is the Capitol Police officer supposed to do? Go like beat the guy up, like go tackle him, go arrest him? Because what he did is not technically illegal. Okay, it's yucky and bad. Many things in American society are yucky and bad. It's not technically illegal to catcall AOC, which is what this guy actually did, even though AOC doesn't apparently know what a catcall is. And I love that she's now turned on the Capitol Police. Remember when the Capitol Police were our nation's greatest heroes? Well, now they are back to being the people that people like AOC hate because apparently they don't want to protect, what she said was women and LGBT people. This is what she says. It's not a place designed to protect women. Again, you seem to be here and healthy and doing quite well, AOC. It's not a place designed to protect LGBT people. What does that have to do with anything? I do love that the new Democratic formulation of every issue, every single issue is, and LGBT people, and LGBTQ plus minus divided by sign ampersand, tilde, hashtag, emoji, smiley crying face people. Like every single issue, it's amazing. It's like housing crisis in Miami. Clearly, this affects most LGBTQ plus minus divided by sign people. My God, there's lead in the pipes in Flint, Michigan. That clearly is going to affect trans youth. Like it's my favorite one that they do is abortion. Abortion is clearly going to most affect LGBT people. You're like, wait, hold up. You're going to have to explain that one biologically to me. You're going to have to explain how abortion is chiefly affecting the LG community. Like that really, like you're going to have to explain how abortion among lesbians is really like the biggest issue right here. Like the accidental pregnancy among lesbians is just an extraordinarily high rate. But this is the thing that they have fixed. So you wonder why the disconnect between the Democratic Party and the rest of everybody else? Because for the Democratic Party, AOC is the ideal minority voter. AOC is who they, when Democrats think of minority voter, they think of AOC representing Hispanics. She does not represent the broad, vast swath of Hispanics in the United States. Not even close. They don't vote anything like her. She's in a district in Brooklyn. She won 16,000 votes in a primary. Nope. Okay, when Democrats think, like, who is the stand-in for the opinion of black Americans? They think, well, maybe like Ayanna Pressley. Ayanna Pressley is not representative of the average black voter in the United States. When they think of the blue-collar worker, they're thinking of like Joe Biden. Joe Biden has not worked a blue-collar day in his life. He just describes himself as blue-collar because he is from a state where there are many blue-collar workers. Well, I mean, by that measure, I mine for gold routinely because I'm from California. That's not the way that works. Joe Biden ain't blue-collar. Joe Biden hasn't spent one day working with his hands. I'm not a gold miner, even though I'm from California. There used to be a lot of gold miners in California, but I'm not one of them. It is amazing how the disconnect is just apparent from every single thing that they do. And Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez ripping on the Capitol Police because a man catcalled her is pretty astonishing stuff. Again, guy's a troll. Guy's fully in sympathy with AOC objecting to his language and behavior here. But the notion that she is a grand victim of American racism, sexism, anti-LGBT sentiment, I wasn't aware she was any of those things at the end there. That's pretty amazing thing. I hope you enjoyed that clip from The Ben Shapiro Show. If you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you stay up to date with all our future content.